Hey everyone, welcome back. It's Melanie, or She Should Scrapper. So today I am back with a one-page layout using the Wildwood collection from Rosie Studio. This is for the Rosie Studio Creative Club. And when I created yesterday's layout, I didn't really have the intention of doing kind of a two-part series, but when I got back into this collection, I decided why not use the other half of the 6x6 papers, the triangles, on another layout. So that is what we are doing today. This is another one of Allison Davis's sketches, and so I don't have it in front of me, but it is inspired by one of her sketches. So what I'm going to do is line up these triangles kind of going across the page. I have it kind of an inch in because I also want to then stitch around the outside. If you are familiar with Allison Davis, you know that she loves stitching, and so I figured because this layout was inspired by her, why not add some stitching to the layout. So in yesterday's layout, I only used 4 of the pattern papers. Today, though, I decided that once I get the 4 triangles down, that I would like a 5th. So I will go back into the paper pad and find another pattern sticking with kind of that blue theme. You can see that the 2 that have the white-ish backgrounds, I do have separated by kind of the more solid background colors. When I use a bunch of pattern papers, I try to kind of stagger either 1, the patterns, or 2, kind of the colors. If there's something more solid, then I'll keep that separated from the ones that are more of a white background. So for the 5th pattern, I am choosing this kind of diagonal stripe paper, and I wanted to cut it appropriately, I guess, for how it's being placed on the paper. So the stripes actually go up and down. So I did kind of have to think about that as I was cutting that pattern in particular. I have 2 photos here. It happens to be from my birthday a couple of years ago. We went down to watch the sunset, and I just love these moments with my boys. He was watching, I think, the boat go by, which I do end up covering up on the pier or on the dock. And then he just is such a fun personality. So the other selfie of him and I, he is just laughing, and I just love these photos of the 2 of us. So I'm going to place my photos like so here, and then use a title from the collection, and it's simply Our Adventure. This adventure is not very sticky. I have a feeling that this is an older collection, and I say that because when I ordered it, there was no 12x12 paper option left. So makes me think that it's an older collection. Plus, my puffy stickers here, my title was not very sticky. So I am popping the smaller photo up on foam tape. Originally, I thought I would kind of have them askew, but then I always struggle with placing a title if they're kind of at an angle. And so I decided to lay them out straight so that my title could kind of sit on top of that bottom photo. So you're kind of getting the idea of this layout, and then I will just kind of embellish. I was trying to add some liquid glue to at least that E. That was what was not really sticking very well, but I kept bumping the jar there that I was trying to get it to stay down with, and it doesn't end up working. So I don't know if I do it on camera or off camera, but at the end I actually do a strip of tape underneath of it. Not the best solution by any means, but it is clear and it does get it to stick. So that is what I came up with to get that to stick, because the liquid glue was not even really helping. So now that I have that done, I knew I wanted to kind of add an embellishment to the bottom left. And there's this really pretty paper that has a floral cluster on the left hand side, but the other is kind of like a bluish grid. And sticking with the blue theme, I decided just to choose that and cut a little strip, dovetail each of the ends, and use that kind of as a base for an embellishment cluster. I found a really good chipboard saying, and so I'm going to add that down there. And then there's also another circular kind of floral chipboard piece that is that blue tone, and so I will add that to the bottom as well. And because they're both chipboard and I want to layer them, I do pop the phrase up on some foam dots and get that down. Otherwise, embellishing really came together really quickly. When I ordered this collection in particular, I just pick and chose, I don't know. I selected what I thought I would use. In the past, I just did the value bundles, and those sometimes come with stamps, and I don't use those. So I went through and I did get each of the ephemera packs and the chipboard and then the titles. And I think that's it. So again, sticking with the blue theme, I found a tag, another layering piece, and then Love This Life, which I'll actually move that because there's another phrase that I liked even better, finding joy in the ordinary. And so I love that cluster there. And then I'll add the Love This Life under my title. I did add a little chipboard piece between Our Adventure, and it says perfect. So it's really Our Perfect Adventure is the title, and that was just another way to use up some of the pieces that I had. On the title sheet, there are some puffy hearts and dots, and so I did make a cluster at the top of my title there, and then kind of playing around with adding some elsewhere. Those are not particularly sticky either. I did end up buying some of the glitter gems from a Christmas collection when I placed this order, and so I am bringing in some of those, and I also had some left over from a different collection that I don't even know when or where I got it from, but I will kind of include those because that is a blue tint as well. So once I kind of finish with the gems and the heart clusters, I will kind of dig into the stitching. I don't show me actually stitching. I actually finished poking the holes and then took it inside. So there's the tape. So you can't see it from here. And I think once it gets into the page protector, I think it'll be fine. We'll see though. It'll be interesting. So back to the stitching, I kind of went in to see what colors I have. I wanted a dark blue around the edges, and I don't have one that matches well. So instead, I'm just going to decide to stitch all the way or poke my holes all the way around. I love this Tim Holtz ruler. It is really nice for getting even holes. There was a little bit of user error this time on that first row down the page. I got a little crooked, but it is what it is. It wasn't too bad. And then what I decided to do was I will stitch the dark blue and then the light blue triangles. And by doing the holes after the fact, I don't use as much thread or spend as much time poking or stitching because a lot of it is covered up by the photos or embellishments. So if I do this at the end, I guess some of the embellishments made it a little bit tricky to then poke the holes, but again, it'll save time in the long run by completing the layout and then going back to stitch. So here are my color choices, trying to figure out what colors to use. Again, I don't have a really good dark blue and did not match this at all. Instead, I kind of have, I guess I'll call it taupe, that tan. And so I decide to do the tan all the way around the edges of the layout and then the edges of the dark blue triangle. And then I will use the blue on the blue and do tone on tone. So in the close-ups there will be some pictures of the stitching. So I hope you guys enjoyed this layout. I will have a link for Rosie Studio down below, as well as my discount code for 10% off. I am loving all of their products. and all of their collection. So definitely get your hands on some of them. I hope you guys enjoyed, and we will see you next time. Bye, guys.